I do know that another artist is off my list because I'm clear about myself. I know who I am and I
Mhm.
know how I work as an artist. I don't want to look at that in the mirror every day. That's scary. It would
What
be like
about, oh,
two therapists talking to each sorry, two therapists
yeah,
therapizing each other the whole like
yes.
no. I don't want
So
it not
I
anymore.
have dated a therapist, and yes, that's exactly what it's like. This is Relatable, Relationships Unfiltered. Hey, welcome to Relatable, Relationships Unfiltered. Today I'm hanging out with the beautiful, talented, internationally known Estelle. We get super vulnerable about the things she's learned in therapy and how that's influenced her boundaries and expectations in her dating life. All right, so my fellow single lady, we connected through Instagram and lots of shared, I think, passions, viewpoints in terms of relationships. And I
Yeah.
wanted to chat with you about like what your world is like, dating, relationship, and all of those things.
Oh, geez. I'm not one of those people that puts all the things out there, but I definitely have a lot of opinions on it. Having, I'm 40, I'm 42, about to be 43, and it's been life. It's been fun.
Yeah,
It's been a journey.
sure.
Um, you know, dating and stuff. It's intense and it's wild and it's weird.
Right.
But
Well,
here
and
we are.
how old were you when you got into really, I guess, like the limelight, I guess is the best way to say it? Like,
Oh,
because that obviously influences dating as well.
oh yeah. I've been known parentheses since I was about 19, 20 in different stages, right?
Okay.
In the UK, like local, and then it graduates, but once you're kind of out there across every magazine and or across the world on every stage, there's no like dialing it back.
Yeah.
Like there's no like, oh, now I go into obscurity. There's none of that. Like it is what it is, given. And I think I spent way too much time trying to dial it back into obscurity, and that worked against me, honestly. So it's been an interesting ride for me, relationship wise. I've tried to have relationships, kept them quiet, tried to be open about them. It's very strange. It's a very
Which
strange.
has seemed to be Melissa, the producer, and I were talking before you came on, and we were talking about
Mm,
that like your social media is relatively private. Like you don't,
yeah,
your shit is not
no,
like blasted for the
no,
world. What is that like
no.
for the person that you're dating? Like, do they ever get insecure that you don't put them out there like that?
No, they like it. They like it. Well,
Okay.
they like it because well, first of all, I started, like I started being known in an era where there was no social media. So there wasn't the pressure
Yeah.
and no one really cared about your love life unless you were like Beyonce, Madonna, Mary J. Blige levels. Like no one cared that you were whoever you were, and unless that was to be the hook of your career. And that
Right.
wasn't the hook of my career. I have talent. I do other things. I actually do a thing. My
Yeah.
thing isn't. I'm not. I have an actual talent thing that I do,
Yes.
and my career, my brand isn't based on who I'm dating, and it's not literally part of the sellable thing. So it wasn't ever a pressure to be like, oh, who's she dating? And what is she, and who are they, a couple, a power couple? And are their names squished together? Still something, It's never that for me, and I'm
Sure.
grateful that it's never been that. I see the value and it works for other people, and that's gorgeous. For me, that's never been like a thing. So he doesn't care. He genuinely like like any guy that I've dated doesn't care. Like they're not really in it. A couple of them have felt some type of way, and that was a red flag for the gods.
They they
Um,
felt that way about you not not
yeah,
putting them out there?
under,
Yeah.
underneath it all, they felt some type of way, and I was always like, "Oh, okay, that's the red flag of all the red flags. And
Yeah.
we're done here. Thank you. It's been fun."
Well,
You
and
know?
that's what I was thinking too, that you probably, my guess would be you're probably not attracted to the type of man who would want you to
No.
expose them in that way or to be flashy in
Mm-mm.
that way, because that it
Yeah.
doesn't seem like that's really your vibe. That's not really your personality to begin with.
It's really not. I think there's a definite delineation between who I am as Estelle and my career.
Mm,
I'm not my career. I'm very
yeah.
clear about that. It got murky at one point where I felt pressured to be so far into it, and everyone was looking for me to be that person, and so I felt pressured and I fell into it to a degree, and I had an awesome awakening and got the hell out of it,
How did
and
you
and
catch that?
reestablished it.
How did you catch
Oh,
it before it went too far?
oh my days. And it wasn't even being in a relationship, because I was in a relationship, but as I got out of the relationship, I was, the reality of who was my friends, who were my peoples,
Mm,
who was hiding, who was lying, who was that's nothing to do with me. Meanwhile, it was everything to do with you if you knew and you didn't tell me. Like things like that, loyalty, like all of that stuff kind of kicked in. And then I had to do an assessment, because I was like, well, what am I giving out that's making people feel like it's okay to treat me
uh,
that way?
sure.
And that was part of the awakening. That was part of the whole, you're not your career. You're a whole human. You have personal goals you want to hit those goals. You have real life things that are happening that you want to do, and your career and your life and your trajectory is not any less important than your friends who do parentheses regular life stuff. It's
Hmm.
not any less important just because you are who you are, or you've done what you've done in the world.
Right.
Like your stuff is important too. Stop belittling that. And so that was the relearning, reparenting, all the things process.
Did
Yeah.
you go through, were you actively going through therapy with you using the term reparenting? Is that yes?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Did you do
Ooh,
that for many years or what was that like?
I'm still in therapy. I refuse. I refuse to not be in therapy.
Yeah.
Like it's not every single day for like years long processes. It's periods of time. Like I have someone that I can speak to, a couple people that I can speak to that work with different areas of my life that help me to move through this. I haven't done this before. I haven't done this life before. My
Yeah.
parents haven't done my life. No one knows what it's like to be me in this era, in this time, and to live. And I say that again, take me aside from the career, separate the things. No one knows what it's like to be me, have experienced what I've experienced, move through this life the way I move through this life, you
Yeah.
know? And so, and I feel like you said this in some of your posts, like, like we haven't been here. None of us know how to do this. Like,
Hmm.
we're all just trying to ting and hoping for the best. So
Yeah.
go for the information, go for somebody that may have a clue,
Yeah, and I love
talk
that
to
you're
them.
saying that because I mean, as you know, that's a big part of my message is that even as a
Mm,
relationship expert, like that, I
mm,
still am trying to figure out my own shit every single day, and like my
yeah,
my journey is my journey, and the things
yeah,
that I can help people process through and make sense of, I might struggle with that same exact thing the next day, and
yeah,
that's what's so important to me, and it's exactly what you're saying is like who we are as a human is not our career. So we could be really
yeah.
good at our career, we could be thriving in our career and have
Yeah.
personal struggles.
And it's the thing I always want to say to people is like the way that you see me or the way that people meet me often is through my career, right? And
Yeah.
then they sit down with me, and you get to see the good parts on social media. You get to see I figured it out. You don't get to see the me figuring it out part, you
Yeah.
know? So
Right.
when you meet me and you're with me in real life in any of my relationships, friendships, husband, boyfriend, whatever, um, it's very much you get to see the figuring out part. And that
Mm,
part to some people is like, oh, it's not as glistening as I thought it would look. Hmm.
yeah. I
And
struggle
that's,
with that a
yeah,
lot. Yeah,
yeah.
that's probably one of my biggest insecurities when it comes to dating. You know, I joke a lot about
Mm,
being single and like avoiding dating and those type of things, but that's put
yeah,
really beautifully. That's probably one of my biggest insecurities is that the way that people see me present and they see the knowledge that I have and then to
yeah,
show them behind the curtain, you know, and that
yeah,
like you're saying that figuring out process
yeah.
and that when I do stumble that's hard to be vulnerable like that when people know you a certain way.
It's difficult, but it's also it's not gonna not happen. So
Right.
what are we gonna do? Like,
You're right.
I'm here and I'm just gonna look
Yeah.
crazy sometimes and I'm not gonna have concealer on and I'm gonna look like my house is going to look like the inside of my brain sometimes, and it's going to be a mess. But you know what? At the end of that week, it's going to look great. It's going to look glorious. It's going to look like Pinterest in here. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
rock with me, rock with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you usually, so when you do date, how do you usually meet the people that you date? Is it all different?
Oh, it's all different. I've in the past, how would I say, in the past 3-4 years, it's been a moment of trying to open myself up, right? And date. And I find myself again like remembering who I was. So I'll rephrase this. I went into this whole period of like, just be open, just see, open the door, Stell, don't be so guarded, let it be, right? Ended up dating a lot of people that shouldn't have had access to me. And I don't say that in the I'm me way. I meant that in the no, these are my standards and my boundaries, and you have none. And you are so intent on disrespecting every ounce of it. You don't actually like women. You don't actually like yourself. And you don't actually like women in the context of like you have mother issues, and I am not the one to take it out on because I come across as caring and loving.
Right.
No, I don't replace me for the things that you have to go figure out with your parent. And I dated a few of them in between, and that was my lesson. Like, okay, now you see the flags. Don't keep doing this to yourself. You know your boundaries. You refuse. Don't do this. You know, and then again, it was like not access to me in the sense of like if I hadn't been in the space, you know, dealing with being so super open and being like everybody, hey, you know, to people I wouldn't normally deal with or talk to like that. You know, I maybe wouldn't have dated them, but you learn they were there for a purpose, and I was there for a purpose, and I learned what I was supposed to learn from it. You know, it was a wild time. It's been a wild couple of years. Of years. It's been a while. Yeah.
What would you say is the main thing? Like, what are you drawn to that you maybe wish you weren't? What are some of those things that you notice are a pattern?
All right, and this is where it gets, and my friends laugh at me a lot, but I'm one of these people. I take all the things into account. Cancerian men. I'm a Capricorn woman. We are drawn to Cancerian men, right? And we're drawn to them because it's like they're our yin to yang. It's like they're our father to mother sign. Right. Everyone has them. Aries is a Libra, Gemini is Sag, you know, like 6 months apart, essentially.
Okay.
6-7 months apart. And I'm drawn to them because they just seem really nice. You know, they do a thing that is inherently not Capricorn, which is have their feelings on their sleeve. You know, they're very lovely, they're persuasive, they have lots of words. But then a lot of the time, the Cancerian men I draw to me have this other side that's very resentful of me and my, you know, and my, how would I say it? My bossness, you know?
Okay.
It's almost like they feel emasculated immediately, and I can do nothing about that. You know, my way of giving love and being open and being vulnerable with them is not enough. And so they're passive. They were both routinely passive aggressive. They were like, it was just like my eyes were open and like stunned, and I clutched my pearls every time they came near me, like, oh, I don't actually like you. Oh my God, no, this is horrible.
That's
believe that.
That's a hard realization. Yeah. Do you feel like so you're saying you learned the lesson from that? Like, how are you trying to, I guess, weed that out, so to speak, when?
Well, it's being more open, it's standing up for myself. I think the lesson with them was opening my mouth and speaking and being vulnerable. They were very vulnerable. They were very open with their how they felt and their, you know, whether it was passive aggressive or whatnot, they were very clear in their actions and their slickness and their, you know, the one-liners they would come with. And I would just hold it and feel like, let me just not say anything to rock the boat, you know, which is something that I had to kind of get over and deal with from being young, you know, the way I was taught to be as a woman, as a young girl. And those are my lessons in like, nah, say your piece, because they have no qualms hurting your feelings. They have no qualms trampling over your boundaries. These men have no issues being mean to you. Why would you let that happen?
But it sounds
Stand up
like
for yourself, you know?
it sounds like in the work that you were doing, recognizing that comes from, did it come from your relationship with your father, with your mother, with both? Like, was it role modeled? Where did it come from? Okay.
It was role modeled. It was in our family tree. We've since worked through it, and we continue to work through it.
Yeah.
Me and my mom are great friends now. We weren't so much as in like, no, we were good friends. It was my mom when I was a kid, but we're great friends now. We're able to talk about everything. Like,
Right.
Ma, like, do you know that when you did this when you were younger, this is how I relate now. Please don't do it to the younger ones. Or if you speak to them like that, we have conversations like that.
Yeah.
It's 9 of us. So I'm able to give her real-time feedback and real-time, this is something that you do that isn't cool. And she'll tell me, I see you doing this, and it reminds me when I was younger, don't do that.
And are you able to receive
we're
that?
able to, oh yeah, I look for it from her.
Yeah.
Like, I go out my way. I'm so grateful that I can, because a lot of people don't have the option, don't have a parent that's that receptive, and they're not receptive. But I feel like I've been not beaten, but I've had enough.
Yeah.
I feel like when you've had enough of your own mess, you figure it out. You do what you need to do. So I've been in that place of having had enough of not knowing why or not knowing how to be in relationship to figure it out.
Right. Were you married anywhere along? Have you been married before?
No, I've just been in long relationship. I'm a relationship girl. I'm one of those. Like, I stay in it, until
no
I
matter
can't
what.
anymore. Yeah, until and things to learn. Standing up for myself and not doing. And I was one of those. I'd been in like 3, 4, 5 year relationships, and it was just. I think the last one, when I first got out of it, I was like, I hate her. I always felt like this. And then I did some checking on myself, and I was like, maybe it's you, and that was part of the awakening. Like, you did some things, you reacted in some ways. Sometimes it's not really them. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's not. Like, there's blame on both sides.
Yeah. And I think that's most often, right? That it's a combination of both. That's a lot of my recent awareness of, and it's really not rocket science, but it's powerful when you realize that when you trigger somebody and then their reaction to it is going to trigger you back. And then then you just start going back and forth. And it's like the root of the issue didn't have to be that to begin with, but you attract people who their triggers are reactive to you. And that's a big part of relational programming.
It's the attraction of it all. Like, I keep in the back of my mind, all right, every time I get angry or I get mad about something, what is this person teaching me? What is the point here? And I do it from a place of, why not me? Like, I'm not one of us is perfect, and why not me in this period, in this time, on this day? Why not? I remind myself of that even in the middle of my being pissed to the ends of the earth.
Right.
I'm like, why not me on this day and this time? Maybe I need to sit it down and just have a think.
Yeah.
And I do my best thinking. Yeah, like, do my best thinking when I'm mad. I need a day. I need a week. I need a night. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
Like, I don't hate you. I'm not going nowhere. Just give me a minute.
Don't you have somewhere to be? And I think the anger of that, really, when we boil it down, it's like, the anger, usually under that is irritability, and under the irritability is anxiety, and under the anxiety is hurt. And when we really look at the hurt is coming from the inner child. What need is not being met, and that is most often. So everyone just sees the anger, but really it's like this child at the core of it.
Every time. And the more I recognize it in myself, the more I recognize it in others. So I'm able to talk. When I'm dating now, I'm able to talk a bit more. I'm able to calm myself down a little bit, or just like pull back some, without feeling like I'm being shut up or I'm being shut down. I'm like, well, hold on, like, maybe just listen, instead of feeling like I need to get all my thoughts out all at once in this moment. Right. Listen a minute, because there might be something here that's going to help your thoughts along the way, or give you a completely different perspective that you weren't even thinking about. was actually the thing. You know, like if I'm having a conversation, having an argument, and one thing I've been working on is not over talking my dude, right?
Yeah.
So he'll stop me in the middle and be like, let me finish my thought. And like normally my reaction would be like, but I just want to say the thing I had to say because like I had to say the thing. Cause like, you know, and on my end of it, and if we're on the phone, like you can't see my actions, right? So you're just hearing this voice and you're hearing this loud voice just going.
Yeah.
And so I've learned to just literally, and I don't feel like I'm being overrun in this instance. I don't feel like my opinion isn't important. I just feel like, oh, there's another voice here. There's another opinion that might actually help me along the way get to the point. Now, I can let him say what he needs to say. At that point, I can let him say what he needs to say, listen to it, actually process it.
Right.
And if it makes sense, apply it. If it doesn't, well, there's another opinion here, another point of view. And it doesn't mean that anything breaks or any toys are thrown out of prams. Just another point of view. We can move on.
Yeah. It takes a lot of practice though to be able to do that, because I definitely part of my childhood trauma is not having a voice and not being able to speak up and express myself. You know, it was very authoritarian upbringing. And so what they said was the law. And so I find myself I get reactive in those situations, but also similarly doing a lot of practice around like, okay, I don't have to be bigger and louder in every situation because sometimes there is value. Sometimes, more often than sometimes.
Yeah, more often than not, there's absolutely value. Sorry to cut you, prime example, but more often than not, there is value. And also, sometimes it doesn't even matter. Like, you know, we're sitting there going, this point of view, this point of view, this point of view, this point of view. And you get to the end of the night and you're like, all right, the price of my mortgage didn't change. I'm still my size. I ate the same amount of chocolate today. My wage is still the same. Nothing that matters in real life to you has changed.
Yeah.
But you needed to fight this moment through to the points of the points. And it's something worth just thinking, let me shush for a second. It doesn't mean shutting yourself down. It just means listening. Like it just means having an open ear, you know? And to be fair, I'm always like, I give the balanced point of view of like, yo, there are some men who will use that, or some others, or your significant other might use that to manipulate, which isn't cool ever. But your spirit knows when that's what that is. You know, your instinct is like, I don't know. I don't know about that.
Yeah, and it's then your responsibility to catch that, to be aware of that, to set boundaries around it, to remove yourself from those situations. Like, I think that's a great point, that these healthy behaviors, just because some people are willing to exploit them, doesn't mean that we don't still practice them. It means we remove ourselves from the exploiters. What were some of the reparenting activities that you did in therapy or are currently doing that you have found to be effective?
Well, one thing I've done that, and I say this because I realized it recently, was I had this story in my head about like once I got fame. I hate the word famous because it's conditional.
Well, own it, girlfriend. That's your reality.
I know it. Once I got known around the world, once I got known, it became I'm gonna buy all the things in the world because that's what famous people do. I ain't gonna buy every single thing I ever wanted in all the planets and all the ways. And I was like trying to figure out why that was my natural reaction. And it got beyond, well, all my friends do it, all my famous friends do it, and I've seen everybody famous do it, to all right, you're doing it even when you're down to your last penny. What is this? Right? And or even when you know you shouldn't be doing it, you should be paying for something else, you're still going to go ahead and buy those Versace's. What's wrong with you? What are you doing right now? And then I realized that it was kind of my inner child, like screaming to be told yes for once, right? When I was younger, when I was a kid, I'm the oldest girl, so I was always just kind of giving to my mom doing things for the youngest. And I remember her validating me one time, telling me, you know, of all the kids, Estelle would be okay if she didn't go on this school trip. I know she'd be okay. if I was just to say no because I don't have the money to do it. And it made me feel like I was, you know, the favorite or the martyred kid. She didn't do it on purpose. That wasn't her point. She was just
Of
making a
course.
point about being grateful for, and sometimes being humble and letting somebody else have it. But I took that as I'm the hero because and also it started a train of me suppressing when I wanted something and just kind of being like, well, I shouldn't because somebody else is going to want it. And someone else in the family needs it more than me. And it trickled into other moments in my life. Oh, that person's life, because they're living what seems to be the dream, is more important than my life. So I don't deserve to complain that I'm unhappy single. I'm unhappy in a relationship. I should just take whatever's given to me,
Mm.
just to take whatever
Yeah.
without having a choice. So I realize now that that's more like about my younger, my little girl inside crying out just to have what she wants when she wants it and to be okay
Right.
with that. Like, you're allowed to have things and you're allowed to be and you're allowed to have the beautiful thing and do the thing, and it's totally okay, right? So I buy myself what I want when I want.
So the moral of the story.
The moral of the story is now I do it without any guilt because I know where it comes from, and I
Yeah.
don't feel pressured in any sides of the world. I worked to be able to do this, to have the lifestyle I wanted when I was a kid, and I have it now, and I'm grateful for it, and I thank God for it, and I give as much as I buy.
Right.
I reciprocate. I give so much, like from clothes to donation. Like, I'm conscious of the cycle of it all. But
Right.
where it started from with me was a thing where I was like, okay, you can't feel guilty every time you buy yourself a pair of shoes that maybe you shouldn't be, like, or you can't feel guilty every time you take yourself on an amazing holiday that maybe, like, why wouldn't you just tell all your friends to come along and pay for them all to come? You
Mm.
shouldn't feel guilty whenever you do nice things for yourself or have nice things in your home.
Yeah.
Don't go out of your way to make it look just not as good as it could. Like little
Yeah.
things, like
Yeah.
small little life things, and it was just like, no, I deserve it because I do, and
Yeah.
that's the baseline of it.
That's a huge part of healing because
Yeah,
minimizing yourself and that
yeah,
core belief of I'm not worthy or I don't deserve it. And I can completely
yeah.
relate to that. I do it probably more with my son than with myself though, but that compensatory,
Yeah,
growing up with not a lot. And so
yeah,
then,
yeah,
as you're saying, working really hard to have a different lifestyle. And so I catch myself going
yeah.
overboard with my son because
Yeah.
all the things that I wanted, when I was a child. And
You should have
but
it. You should have it. Like, I found myself saying that with my nieces, the kids
yeah,
around me. They should have all the things, and it's just like, if they have all the things, that's good. But also, if they have love, that's good, and all the things,
yeah,
harmony.
right.
There's space for it. All there's space to have all the things. There's space for not all the things. There's space for balance. There's space for, being a thoughtful kid. There's space for you can have every set of Jordans that comes out. You can have it's the inside, it's the core, it's who you are. Having all the things is great. Will you take those things off and give it to somebody who doesn't have them because you're a good human, because
Yeah,
these are things,
right.
these are parentheses things.
Yeah,
Like, it's
finding the
what
gray.
will you do with the things? Yeah,
Hmm.
find the harmony and the balance in it all. That's my thing. So just not being not being scared to
Yeah, yeah,
treat
to
myself
let
anymore.
yourself be seen, let yourself be taken care of, and
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
huge. So tell me,
yeah,
when you're dating currently, what are some of the things you look for in a partner? So it sounds like you
yeah,
had these longer term relationships, and then you're saying the last few years it's
yeah,
been more dating, not
yeah,
committed. Okay.
yeah.
You look so nervous.
Dating is. It's because it's just bananas out there and people crazy, and I'm
You're
genuinely.
not
I've
kidding.
been. Woo! It's a wild time, and I don't like it. It's not fun. Um, no, it's again, and then I date sparingly. I want to say I'm very much like yeah. I've not been the person. So, and then this is one thing that I have been wrestling with. I've not been the person that when I date, I introduce them to everybody because as soon as I do, it becomes, what's the story? What's the weekly update? What's going on in your life? And I'm like, it's never been that. Stop asking me. I don't want to be your friend no more.
Like it's none of your damn business.
It's none of your damn business. Like, do I ask you what happens in your house? What goes on with you? What is happening? Like, and I try not to be the friend that is inside of every single one of my friends' relationships. I do not care. I just care that you're good and you're loved and you feel happy. And if you're minimizing yourself, then and you want to vent, heard you, but we're going to find a solution, sis. Or bro, we're going to find a solution. But what we're not going to do is sit down and, we're not going to, I don't wish to do that, to be that friend. So I don't like it that, again, because I do a certain thing, the trick of it all is you're supposed to let me into your life. I don't have to do anything. I'm trying to love me, and I'm trying to find somebody who loves me the same way I love me, and in the ways I don't love me, in the ways I'm learning to love myself. So that's not up for discussion, or it doesn't change the price of your rent, your mortgage, my life, so it's hard. It's a little more difficult to date with those parameters, because again, then the people that want to be in your life, or the immediate thing is, when can I meet your friends so this can be solidified, so I can be your boyfriend, so we can go on the gram? Never.
Never. Does that make you feel stressed? Like, where would you fall?
I'm sweating as I'm saying that.
The thought of it.
The thought of it is my armpits.
What is your attachment style? Are you aware of that? Like anxious, avoidant, like where?
I've been learning that, and honestly, it confuses me. I want to say, I don't know if it's anxious. I want to say it's somewhere in the, attached anxious. I don't like when you're, and I've been this is something, again, I am aware and I'm working through, when you're like, where are they? What are they doing? What's happening with them? What's going on in their life when they're not with me? Right?
You do that or you don't?
I do that.
You do? Okay, so anxious, so that would be definitely in the anxious category.
Okay, and that's weird, because so thank you for saying that, because now I can work through it with some guidelines.
Yeah,
but it's very I have to fight to be like, okay, you have a life, you have a very full life. Where did this extra time come to be bothered about what they're doing in every minute of their day when they're not with you? And why do you not trust that what you have done or what you have said to them is good? You are protected in this scenario. So that's why I say dating, because it's very much like, if I don't feel like you've come in or said the thing, and I need verbatim verbal, I need the person to say the thing. It's weird, and it doesn't make me feel like I want to be outside with the world, just trying with anybody. It's a trust thing. It's developing that. And then it's just the consistent trying to remind myself, it's okay. The world isn't out to get you. Not every man in the world hates you or wants to be mean to you. These others that you dated, that's not to do with you. They were lessons to learn what you needed to learn and move forward. It's okay.
It's hard.
That kind of, it's a lesson. It's an ongoing thing. And I don't think it stops in relationships, because I have friends that we have these discussions and they're fully in relationships.
Yep.
And that's fully married.
Well, the attachment styles, that really follows you from dating to until it's resolved and you work towards secure, whether it's the anxious, like you're describing, where it's like, what are they doing? Where are they at? And always worried about that. The avoidant, which is, kind of pushing away, don't want anyone too close. And then the combination of that with the anxious avoidant, or the disorganized, where you kind of vacillate between come here close, no, go away, come here close. And unfortunately, I fall into that latter category, which is really effing confusing for everyone around me.
How does that go? Tell me how that goes, because I want to know what that looks like.
Well, so it's like I struggle a lot with commitment because of what you're describing with the trust issues. I struggle a lot with trust. And so to allow someone to get close to me that feels really scary, and that's really hard for me. But then when I do let someone close, then that's where some of the anxiety comes out, because it's like, okay, I've let you in, now please don't hurt me. And so I get anxious, but I'm hyper vigilant for any sign that they might be out to hurt me so that I can push them away.
And that's the part I've been working towards. You see, when I said most of the times, I feel I recognize that. Most of the times I always say, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to stick around. I have to say it to myself. I have to remind myself, I'm not going anywhere. I just need to work through this. Give me a minute,
Right.
And I've done that with myself over the past couple of years. And I remind myself in those moments, it doesn't mean that you're going to stick around and be hurt for the ends of the earth. It means you are actively just going to work through this. The thing that you said you were going to do is what you're going to do. Doesn't mean you're going to stay here forever and be sucked into another 5-year relationship of madness. It means you're going to work through this. So now, Estelle, what's the next step? Work through this.
Yeah.
And then it's the next day,
Right.
Like I take it in those moments instead of trying to look at what my energy is towards it all, my attachment towards it all is as a be all end all. That's where I'm at. That's where I'm gonna stay. I look at it like there's a way outside of this. There's a way to reform myself. If I just take this one task at a time.
And that's really powerful. It's when you can do that, because then you're regulating that one experience and you're able to look at it as the present moment versus this, the everything they are. Because I find that I do that, in moments when I'm feeling hurt or I'm feeling scared with someone I'm dating or a partner, that all of a sudden that paints who they are, in totality, when it's like, no, they're actually a really good man. We're just having a rough moment. And so, like you're saying, being present in that moment can help you. Okay, wait a minute, take a breath.
Sit down, calm down, relax. I breathe in, breathe out a lot. Like the guy they will see me breathe in, breathe out, and be like,
So tell me, before we wrap up, I want to ask a couple questions. I do this with a lot of my guests. I like to know what their needs, their wants, and their boundaries are. So if you were to think of like a couple things, let's say 2 things that you need in a partner, so non-negotiable, what would that be?
Consistency.
Okay, good one.
And physical touch. Like,
so someone who's like affectionate.
Yeah, someone who's affectionate and who is consistent. Now, I say consistency in the sense of like, be consistently who you say you are. And I know we shift and change as humans, but if you consistently are a shifter and a changer, be that. Don't flip flop every 3 minutes of the day. It's because to me that reads as manipulation.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah, put you on eggshells.
Puts me on exactly, and I never know what to do. And again, that's manipulation. That's so that most times so that the other person doesn't have to commit, right? Which is, to me, is just get out of my space. Stop wasting my time.
Yeah.
And what's the other thing I just said? Affectionate, right? I am the world's biggest hugger now. I've discovered I like to cry in the past few years, and I like to hug. Call it dating those 2 Cancerians. Like, I cried a lot in the 3-year period. Like, and it wasn't them; it was just what they triggered, right?
Oh, sure.
So like every 2 minutes, I'm like, I'll sit down and watch a TV show and just be on my own and be in the house like, oh God, what is going on? Let it go. Like, and be embarrassed to cry by myself in my house, but be bawling, right? Bawling. I'm an affectionate, huggery person. I need the other person to like initiate that, so that I can have that opening. You know what I mean? And until I'm able to like get it. So as I stand today, that's the 2.
Is it like nurturing touch that you like? Like, do you like?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
so
being loved on. Absolutely. Like, I'm a big hugger. I'm a big rub your back. I'm a big rub your face. Like just in the middle of the day, run up and just squeeze you and then continue. If I like the person, if that's who I'm with, that's that person. And even some of my friends, I'm like a big like, all right, just just come here. It's okay. You know, I'm gonna get you in the head. I'm gonna hug you, and I'm gonna tell you something that you need to do. But I'm gonna hug you while I say it. You know, like you want some bullshit. Hey, come here. This is some bullshit. You'll be okay though. Like you are absolutely fucking up right now, but it'll be okay.
We'll get through it while we hug.
Oh yeah, like this is you. That was stupid of you. Like you shouldn't have said that. Try this next time. Oh,
Yeah, that's
but
so
we'll
funny.
be okay. You know.
What about a couple? What about a couple wants? So these are more like preferences. So whether it's like aesthetics or jobs or things like that.
Yeah, I like a man that takes care of himself.
Okay.
I've tried the man. I've tried people who were very casual about their health. And I've tried, and then I found that again, it was based on who they thought I wanted versus who they actually were. And I was like, oh, so you don't work out every day, you know? And my thing isn't you have to work out every day, but be consistent with the thing that you said you do. Take care of your health, like because you know, life plans. I like to plan life, broad strokes, because I know the details. You know, God make you laugh, like make God laugh, right? So I like to broad stroke the things that fall into my spirit. But still want kids, still want to adopt, still want to, you know, want to live a long, healthy life as much as I can. I can do the things and put parameters on. All right, because I hate the word control is, you know, we have none. So I just think to myself, health is one of those things. So I always want a man that takes care of his health, and that is a partner, you know, like a real, like my friend, my partner, we think where you fill in, where I fall short, you fill in, you know, like, and I'm the person that's like, I'll be vulnerable. I'm like, yo, I can't do that. That's all your world. I'm not doing that this week. I'll tell you, like, I ain't gonna do it. I'm tired. I'm tired. I'm not gonna do it. I ain't doing it. That's all you this week. You got it? All right. So we'll just push it a week until I can do it then, if you can't. You know, apart, like somebody
the balance.
And the balance and not feel judged by not being able to show up as the thing that they think I am, you know?
Right.
So I'm very aware of that stuff, yeah.
Do you like to date men in your industry or not?
At this point, they're all crazy. So no, they're not crazy. Let me mind my words. At this point, I don't mind. I do know that another artist is off my list because I'm clear about myself. I know who I am, and I know how I work as an artist. I don't want to look at that in the mirror every day. That's scary.
Yeah, sure. Like, that's almost like too close together. Yeah. Like you need a little something to balance you out. Okay, and what about
like two therapists talking to two therapists therapizing each other the whole like.
Yes. No. I have dated a therapist, and yes, that's exactly what it's like. It's like
you're out thinking. Like
yes, that's exactly it. And then not only like during vulnerable or empathetic times, things like that, but during conflict, like you're like psychological warfaring each other, and it's way too much. So I will stick to people not in my field moving forward. What about a couple boundaries for you? So deal breakers. So you will not tolerate
lies.
Say it again.
Lies. I'm very ungood at lies.
Okay.
And that's in all the formats. Like I understand if you're working through something and you can't quite get to say it, don't say anything. Or be like, I'll come back to you with that. Not good at lies. And that's omission, that's hiding, that's all of that stuff. Ooh, I hate it, can't stand it, don't like it. It's too many. It's too much in my family genealogy.
Too triggering.
And I see it. I don't want it in this iteration moving forward. So I'm good on lies, in all the ways. And also just mean people. Like people who refuse to grow, and I say that I'll give the phrasing for mean people who are stuck in a certain space and they just refuse to be better at it, better at themselves, right? Or they refuse to, like, they look down on like therapy, or they look down on people with a worldwide view or different viewpoints of theirs, and they go out of their way to say mean things to make themselves feel good. It's childish to me. And I'm sure you've seen this. People get into relationships, and when you sit there and you're making jokes with each other and they say something and you're like, that's just horrible. Like, that's not even funny. Like, why would you? That's
Why
horrible.
would you think like that?
That's a thought process that went through your head as a human. I don't want no children with you. We're good. I don't want my child to have that at all. Bye. Good night, sir. That's a red flag. No, so I was saying mean people who just are stuck in their way. I think there's somebody for everybody, and I'm not the one for you if you're generally underneath it all mean. And again, that always comes from people who are kind of stuck or not trying to heal or not trying to figure themselves out.
Right. And we know definitely that that's where that, I mean, I think how you connected the two, that often that fixed mindset, and so doesn't do therapy, isn't willing to grow, and they're stuck in their ways. And that's a complete turnoff for me as well. I love, intellectual conversation. I love thinking and those deep type of conversations. And so someone who has a fixed mindset, one, their way or the highway, that's a no-go for me as well.
Because I look at it like we're all learning, right? We're all my viewpoint has vastly changed in the past 5 years, like wildly different. Like I learned things about myself, my family, spiritually, physically, that I can't have the same point of view about myself as I did 5-6 years ago. I just can't, because now I know this, that, the rest, and the other. It's like, well, the things I used to look at like crazy, turns out my cousin's uncle, my uncle, my granddad, my mom's mom, like, and you're like, woo, like, I was cussing this and that out, and turns out, didn't find out in my family tree, and a lot of that. So I can't, I reserve judgment, but there are a lot of people who sit in judgment and use it as a force field, some kind of like barrier to be able to grow. And most of the times the things they end up saying are very mean spirited or very, like, well, this side rocks like this, so that's why and it's just like, that's horrible.
Very ego driven, very defense mechanisms, all of those things. Yes, I agree. Estelle, this has been a pleasure. Where can people find you? Tell us your Instagram handle or where else you are on social media.
I am on pretty much all the things at Estelle Darlings, Facebook /Estelle, TikTok and all of that, Estelle Darlings. I'm on my radio show on Apple Music, The Estelle Show. We do our Love on a Wednesday. I look forward to having you on that, because we have to continue this conversation.
Yes.
We do a Love on a Wednesday where we play good music and we talk a little bit, but all the rest of the week, 5 days a week on Apple Music, we just play good music. I have a radio show. It's wild. Who could have thought?
Yes, I love it. And you put that, do you put that on all your social medias? I see that it's on Instagram and stuff that you, so
it's on all my socials.
Perfect. It can be found there. Well, thank you, Estelle. I really appreciate it. I am so grateful for our connection and for our joint passion for evolving and growing. And I'm really grateful for your time today. So thank you so much.
You too. Thank you. It's good to me.
Thank you so much for hanging out with me today, Estelle, and for just being so real. And thank you all for hanging out on Relatable Relationships Unfiltered. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, sign up for my newsletter, and find me on Instagram at Dr. Elizabeth Fedrick.